Okay guys, so this is the skills checklist for the HeartMate 3. The first thing that you're going to want to make sure the nurses know how to do is make power connections. So this is pretty easy. I will show you how to transition over to battery power and then back. So you're going to want to make sure you have at least 2 battery clips. They should come on the console. And then you are going to take your batteries and you line up red arrow to red arrow, insert and click, and then you can set them to the side until you are ready. We'll do the same thing for this second one, red arrow to red arrow. And then the power connection is actually you're going to go from here to this little nodule right here. So we always teach white first. You're going to twist. This is a righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. You're going to twist the cap open, and then you're just going to pull. You don't have any, once the cap is open, you don't have to twist and pull. You just pull straight out. You might beep a little bit, which is totally fine. You can just press the silence alarm button here on the power module and here on the controller, either one. And then you're going to take these 2 half moons in each of these power connections, and you're going to line them up to make a full moon, and you're going to press in, and then you're going to twist that cap back closed. If for some reason the cap will not twist closed, it means that the connection is not tight enough, and so you may need to pull back and start again and just realign the pin. Not super uncommon for that to happen. So we've got the white connected to battery, and now we're going to connect the black power cable to battery. You always want to have, you never want to double disconnect, so you never want to be unhooked from both power sources at the same time, or the machine will have to rely on the backup battery, which should only be used kind of as a fail-safe. So you always want to do white first and then black. So we'll do black. It's the same, untwist the cap and pull, and then you just line up your half moons to make a full moon, push, and twist. So now you're on battery power. If you want to check the status of your batteries, you can press this little button right here on each of them, and you can see that they're fully charged. In order to move back to the power module to supply power, you're just going to click this button here at the top of the battery clip to release the battery, and you will go ahead and do the, and again, after you've been disconnected for 4 seconds, it's going to beep at you, but you can just silence that alarm. And then you are going to twist to unlock and pull, and you are going to move back to the long power cord that's hooked into the wall. And it should be the same concept of lining up these half moons to make a full moon. You twist, you push, and then twist. And then we'll do the same thing for the white connection. And it's up to you if you want to unhook the battery first or unhook the power cord first, as long as your other cord is fully attached. Push and twist. So now we're back completely to our wall power, and then just press this button to release the battery, and then you'll put the batteries back in their home, and then you can leave the battery clips right here. Next thing we're going to do is connect to the iPad monitor. So you can see when we went to batteries, we lost our session. So it's okay to click end session, and then you will probably need to press cancel from there, and then it may ask you to reestablish connection. So you are going to press again this little gray button on the back right of the console until the blue light flashes. You want to make sure this number on the adapter matches this number here and hit connect. And usually it takes just a minute to register, so just be patient with it. If you do have any issues, you should see the green check and be able to click continue. And again, just put your initials in for training. If you have any issues with the iPad, feel free to give me a call. Every now and then it'll kind of act up on us, but hopefully it will behave for you guys. Okay, so the next two things we're gonna do are looking at the driveline connection and then performing a controller exchange. So one of the cool things about this device is you've got a modular driveline. So there is a connection right here so that if any of the portion that goes from the modular connection to the controller that sits outside of the body is damaged, you can actually replace it without having to go back in surgically. So you just want to make sure it's a righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. You want to make sure there's no yellow showing. That's going to be part of your safe checks when you get into the room every morning. If for some reason there is yellow showing, you're just going to tighten it, and you'll kind of hear clicking once it's tightened. Once it's tightened, you can pull and it's not going anywhere. If it is unlocked, I'm not going to do it now because it'll be really loud, but you'll be able to pull these apart. So you just want to make sure that this is nice and tight. On an actual patient, this is not as easy to do. It's just pretty easy to unlock and lock on the training one because we've used it so much. So that's another thing you want to make sure the nurses know to do. And then the last thing is going to be to perform a controller exchange. So when do you perform a controller exchange? This would be in the event that there is some sort of a system fault or a hardware fault in your controller. You will lose these green lights that tell you that the pump is running. If these turn black, and you're going to have a loud alarm that you're not going to be able to silence, and it's going to tell you to perform a controller exchange. So hopefully this is never something that you have to do, but we do like to prepare just in case. You're going to want to get your backup controller. That's all you're going to need for this activity, as long as you are already connected to the driveline and to the power. So how we teach you guys to do it is you're going to want to make sure your patient's lying down, because in the time that the power is interrupted to the pump, they may end up having some symptoms of not having flow to their body. Okay, so you're going to want to get your backup controller. The great thing about this is the settings are stored in the pump itself, so you don't have to set any settings in the backup controller. As soon as it's hooked up, all of your settings are going to be the same, and I'll show you guys that. So I find it helpful, because you press this red button to get the driveline out, I find it helpful to turn both of these over and just set them right next to each other, just so that you are able to kind of fully see what you're doing. And we teach power, patient, power. So the first thing you're going to move is the white power cord from the old controller to the new controller. Then you're going to move the drive line from the old controller to the new controller. And then lastly, you'll move the black power cable from the old controller to the new controller. So I'll show you guys how that works. There is some alarming that will happen, and you can, if it stresses you out, you can press the silence alarm button just to help keep yourself focused. So first thing we're going to do is just move this power source over. So you're going to unhook the power source and drop the power connector that is connected to the old controller. And I'm going to silence this just to hear myself think. You are then going to take the power connector on the new controller and hook it into the wall power. And that noise is the new controller booting up. Next thing you're going to do, you're going to get the drive line. You're going to swing this door open and press the red button to release the lock while you pull the drive line. You're then going to get a very loud alarm, which again you can silence, and then you will line up the arrows on the new controller, push in until you hear a click, and then you can slide this door shut to lock it. You can see now that the pump is already going. So as long as you have one power source and the drive line hooked up to the new controller, you can see here that the pump is working. You can see here that the pump is working. So you have a little bit more time to move your last power source over. So this is going to be very similar to the connections that we've been making. You're going to twist to unlock and then do a straight pull. At this point, this is going to alarm because nothing is connected to it, and I'll show you guys how to turn that off. You're just going to make this final connection, and now you are totally hooked up to power, hooked up to driveline on the new controller. to turn off the old controller, you're gonna press and hold this battery button, and it'll shut off. And that's a controller exchange. I will show you guys, there's a little cheat sheet on each of these devices, so you can go through this with the nurses as well. Make sure, these are kind of safety checks to do in the morning when you get on shift. Make sure there's no yellow showing at that drive line connection like we talked about. You will perform a self-test on both the controller and the monitor. Make sure you do this when your patient is awake because it's very loud, but this just tells you here what buttons to press and hold to do the self-test. And then whenever you get on shift, you want to make sure you know where your batteries are and where your backup controller is. This tells you how to make the power connections, line up half moons and push, then twist to lock, and then a controller exchange process. So this will be with all of the devices just so you don't have to keep everything committed to memory. So those are the skills to go through for the HeartMate 3. And y'all let me know if you have any questions.